According to the National Electrical Code, specifically Section 430.107 regarding the location of disconnecting means, the disconnecting means for motors must be located in sight from the controller location. There is an exception that allows a single disconnecting means to be located at the controller location for a group of motors, but this is under specific conditions. Firstly, the motor controller must be rated not more than 600 volts, nominal, and not more than 50 horsepower. Secondly, it applies to a motor controller for a group of motors, each rated not more than 600 volts, nominal, and not more than 50 horsepower, and each motor is capable of being disconnected from its driven machinery. Section 430.108 concerning controlling apparatus states that each motor, motor controller, and motor-operated appliance must be provided with an individual disconnecting means. This disconnecting means must be a switch or circuit breaker. Furthermore, where a motor and motor controller are mounted within or on the same enclosure, the disconnecting means must be part of the controller or be mounted within an enclosure with the controller. Given these requirements, it is typically not permissible to locate a non-fused disconnect switch above a lay-in ceiling adjacent to the equipment. One key reason is that the disconnect switch must be in sight from the controller location, which is not the case if it is located above the ceiling. Another important consideration is that the disconnect switch must be accessible for servicing and maintenance. Locating it above the ceiling would make this difficult. If a disconnect switch is required for convenience purposes, it should be located within the ceiling plenum or in an accessible location nearby. Consider the following points when determining the appropriate location for the disconnect switch. Accessibility is paramount. The disconnect switch should be readily accessible to qualified personnel for servicing, maintenance, and troubleshooting. Visibility is also crucial. As per the NEC, the disconnect switch should be in sight from the motor controller location to ensure that personnel can easily verify that the motor is de-energized before working on it. Safety is always the top priority. Ensure that the location of the disconnect switch does not introduce any additional safety hazards, such as obstructions or potential for accidental contact. Compliance with local codes and regulations is mandatory. Always consult with local authorities and adhere to any specific requirements or interpretations related to electrical installations in your jurisdiction. Considering these factors will help ensure that the disconnect switch is located in a safe, accessible, and code-compliant manner. Remember that the goal is to provide a convenient means of de-energizing the motor while maintaining the highest standards of safety and compliance. The interpretation of the NEC requirements emphasizes the importance of accessibility and visibility. The location of the disconnect switch should not hinder routine maintenance or emergency procedures. For example, if the ceiling is difficult to access or requires special equipment to reach, it would not be a suitable location for the disconnect switch. Similarly, if the controller is located in a different room or area, placing the disconnect switch above the ceiling would violate the in-sight requirement. The recommendation to locate the disconnect switch within the ceiling plenum or in an accessible location nearby offers a practical solution. The ceiling plenum, which is the space above the suspended ceiling, can be a viable option if it meets certain criteria. Firstly, it must be readily accessible through removable ceiling tiles or access panels. Secondly, it must be free from obstructions that could impede access to the disconnect switch. Thirdly, it must be environmentally suitable for electrical equipment, meaning it should be dry, clean, and well ventilated. If the ceiling plenum is not suitable, an alternative accessible location nearby should be considered. This could include mounting the disconnect switch on a wall adjacent to the motor or controller, or installing it in a dedicated enclosure that is easily accessible. The key is to ensure that the location is convenient for authorized personnel while complying with all applicable codes and regulations. In summary, the NEC prioritizes accessibility and visibility for motor disconnects. While locating the disconnect above a lay-in ceiling may seem convenient, it typically violates these fundamental principles. By considering the alternatives and carefully evaluating the specific conditions of your installation, you can find a solution that meets both the functional and safety requirements. A national electrical code's emphasis on accessibility and visibility in the placement of motor disconnects is rooted in safety and operational efficiency. Imagine a scenario where maintenance personnel need to quickly energize an exhaust fan for emergency repairs. If the disconnect switch is hidden above a drop ceiling, time is wasted locating and accessing it, potentially delaying critical repairs and increasing safety risks. Furthermore, the in-sight requirement ensures that the person operating the disconnect can visually confirm that the motor is indeed energized, preventing accidental start-ups during maintenance. This is especially important in situations where multiple motors and controllers are located in close proximity. The recommendation to consider the ceiling plenum as a potential location is contingent on several factors. The plenum must be readily accessible, meaning that the ceiling tiles can be easily removed without special tools or equipment. The space within the plenum must be sufficient to accommodate the disconnect switch and provide adequate working clearance for personnel. The environmental conditions within the plenum must be suitable for electrical equipment. This means that the plenum should be dry, clean, and free from excessive dust or moisture. Additionally, the NEC may have specific requirements for wiring methods and enclosures used within ceiling plenums, so it is essential to consult the applicable codes and standards. If the ceiling plenum does not meet these criteria, an alternative accessible location should be chosen. This could involve mounting the disconnect switch on a nearby wall, installing it in a dedicated enclosure, or relocating the controller to a more accessible location. The key is to prioritize safety, accessibility, and compliance with all applicable codes and regulations. Consider the potential consequences of non-compliance. Improperly located disconnect switches can create safety hazards, increase the risk of electrical accidents, and lead to code violations and penalties. In severe cases, non-compliance can even result in equipment damage, personal injury, or even fatalities. Therefore, it is crucial to take the NEC requirements seriously and ensure that all electrical installations are performed in accordance with the applicable codes and standards. Remember that the NEC is not just a set of rules, it is a comprehensive set of safety guidelines designed to protect people and property from electrical hazards. By adhering to the NEC requirements, you are not only complying with the law, but also ensuring a safe and reliable electrical system. Always consult with qualified electrical professionals and local authorities to ensure that your installations meet all applicable codes and regulations. In addition to the NEC requirements, consider the practical aspects of maintaining and servicing the exhaust fans. Over time, exhaust fans may require periodic maintenance such as cleaning, lubrication, or component replacement. The location of the disconnect switch should not impede these activities. For example, if the disconnect switch is located in a hard-to-reach area, it may be difficult for maintenance personnel to safely and efficiently perform their work. Similarly, if the disconnect switch is located near other equipment or obstructions, it may be necessary to energize other circuits or systems in order to access the disconnect. This can create unnecessary downtime and inconvenience. Therefore, it is important to consider the long-term maintenance and servicing requirements when determining the location of the disconnect switch. Choose a location that is easily accessible, well-lit, and free from obstructions. Provide adequate working clearance around the disconnect switch to allow for safe and efficient maintenance. Furthermore, consider the environmental conditions in the area. Avoid locations that are exposed to excessive moisture, dust, or temperature extremes. These conditions can accelerate the deterioration of electrical equipment and increase the risk of failure. By taking these factors into account, you can ensure that the disconnect switch is located in a manner that facilitates safe, efficient, and reliable maintenance. The NEC guidelines are in place to ensure electrical safety. Always prioritize these guidelines and consult with qualified professionals for clarification or assistance. The accessibility of the disconnect switch is paramount, not just for routine maintenance, but also for emergency situations. Imagine a scenario where an exhaust fan malfunctions and starts emitting smoke or sparks. In such a situation, it is crucial to be able to quickly energize the fan to prevent a fire or other hazards. If the disconnect switch is located in a hard-to-reach or obscure location, valuable time may be lost in locating and accessing it. This can have serious consequences, especially in a building with multiple occupants or sensitive equipment. Therefore, the disconnect switch should be located in a readily accessible and clearly marked location that is known to all authorized personnel. Consider installing signage while labeling to identify the location of the disconnect switch and provide clear instructions for its operation. Conduct regular training sessions to familiarize personnel with the location and operation of the disconnect switches for all critical equipment. This will help ensure that they can respond quickly and effectively in the event of an emergency. Furthermore, consider the needs of individuals with disabilities. The disconnect switch should be located at a height that is accessible to individuals in wheelchairs or with other mobility impairments. The operating mechanism of the disconnect switch should be easy to grip and operate, even with limited hand strength. By considering the needs of all users, you can ensure that the disconnect switch is accessible and usable by everyone. The NEC provides a framework for electrical safety, but it is important to apply common sense and good engineering practices to every installation. Don't just blindly follow the code, understand the underlying principles and rationale behind the requirements. This will enable you to make informed decisions and ensure that your installations are not only code compliant but also safe and reliable. Remember that electrical safety is a shared responsibility. Everyone involved in the design, installation, and maintenance of electrical systems has a role to play in ensuring a safe and hazard-free environment. Communicate effectively, share information, and work together to identify and mitigate potential risks. By fostering a culture of safety, you can help prevent electrical accidents and protect people and property from harm. The interpretation provided clarifies the NEC stance on disconnect switch placement, highlighting the importance of visibility and accessibility. It's not just about meeting the bare minimum requirements of the code, but also about ensuring the safety and convenience of those who will be working on the equipment. The recommendation to locate the disconnect switch within the ceiling plenum or in an accessible location nearby offers practical solutions that balance code compliance with real-world considerations. However, it's crucial to remember that each installation is unique and the best solution will depend on the specific circumstances of the project. Consider the layout of the building, the location of the controller, the accessibility of the ceiling plenum, and the needs of the maintenance personnel. Take the time to carefully evaluate all of the factors and choose a location that is safe, accessible, and convenient. And when in doubt, consult with a qualified electrical professional to get their expert opinion. They can help you navigate the complexities of the NEC and ensure that your installation meets all applicable codes and regulations. Remember, electrical safety is not something to be taken lightly. It's a serious matter that requires careful planning, attention to detail, and a commitment to following best practices. By prioritizing safety in every aspect of your electrical work, you can help create a safer and more reliable environment for everyone. The ultimate goal is to provide a safe and reliable means of de-energizing the exhaust fan for maintenance and repair purposes. The location of the disconnect switch should not compromise safety or create unnecessary hazards. Instead, it should enhance safety and make it easier for qualified personnel to perform their work. By following the NEC guidelines and considering the practical aspects of the installation, you can achieve this goal.